Becky Lynch is injured right now, but a lot of fans think we may see a big match when she's back. So we'll take a look at that theory. We'll also see what's going on with Ronda Rousey's fine and suspension, and much more. Let's start things off with Becky Lynch. Becky has been back with WWE for just about a year, and she has accomplished a lot in that single year. She turned heel to start a new arc within her character, and the main feud for her over the last year was obviously with Bianca Belair. Becky cheated to win against Bianca the first few times. Then she had a few smaller, but great feuds with superstars like Liv Morgan and Doudrop. And then before you know it, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch were facing off again at WrestleMania 38. Bianca Belair got revenge on Becky Lynch and won the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania 38, her second consecutive title win in back-to-back WrestleManias. And like we talked about several times in the past, that WrestleMania loss led to Becky's fall at the top of the mountain, until she finally gathered herself together and came back for Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. Going into the match, Becky was her usual heel self, trying to get into Bianca's head by reminding her what happened at last year's SummerSlam. But after Becky Lynch was once again defeated by Bianca Belair, we saw a side of Becky that we haven't seen in quite some time. Becky gave Bianca a handshake and even backed her up when Bayley and her new stable stepped foot into the ring. Then right after SummerSlam, Becky Lynch had changed all of her social media profile pictures and named back to The Man, which of course was a big teaser from Becky that she would be returning to her man era, an era that we mostly saw from 2018 to 2020. So it was exciting to see Becky tease a return for The Man. But what really ruined all the hype and excitement was the rumors that Becky was severely injured. And like the opening Raw segment told us, the injury rumors for Becky Lynch were true. She came out in a sling and announced that she had a separated shoulder. Reports claim that Becky suffered this injury very early on in her SummerSlam match against Bianca Belair, but continued and finished the entire match. Very similar to how they fully wrote Cody Rhodes off of television. WWE did the same thing to Becky. Not only was she already legitimately injured, but they had Bayley, Dakota, and Sky beat her down backstage as well. WWE is not giving a timetable for Becky's recovery and return, but the general recovery time for the average shoulder separation could be up to 12 weeks. So you're talking potentially 3 months, and maybe even more, depending on Becky's individual injury and just how serious it actually is. There's many different types of shoulder separations. You have your less intense ones, and obviously your more serious ones. But there's been no details released on where Becky's shoulder injury marks at. But just assuming it's pretty bad, she'll miss several months of action at least. So what will Becky's return look like? It'll likely be similar to SummerSlam 2021. She'll come out to a massive reaction. She'll be back to being the man. But the only difference this time is that she obviously won't turn heel. She'll remain as a babyface and continue the man era of her character. There's a lot for Becky to do when she returns. She can go after another match with Bianca Belair. She can go after Bayley, or fans feel like another major match could be planned as well. That big match being Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. Becky versus Ronda was supposed to happen at 2 occasions. Becky and Ronda were supposed to face off at Survivor Series 2018, but Becky's broken nose prevented that from happening. Then they were supposed to meet at WrestleMania 35, but Charlotte was placed into that matchmaking in a triple threat match. Then Ronda won the 2022 Royal Rumble and could have selected Becky Lynch, but selected Charlotte instead. But with Becky's recent babyface turn and Ronda Rousey's recent heel turn, fans feel like they're on the perfect collision course to finally meet in a singles match at WrestleMania 39. Maybe we'll see a reverse of 2022. Maybe Ronda is champion and Becky Lynch wins the Royal Rumble and selects Ronda. Maybe something along those lines for us to finally see Becky versus Ronda. There's still a lot of time before WrestleMania 39, but fans feel like this may be another great opportunity to see Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. Speaking of Ronda Rousey, that brings us to a brief WWE update for her and her Summerslam match with Liv Morgan. Going into the Summerslam match, everyone sort of figured the same thing. Liv Morgan can't lose the title already, but at the same time, Ronda Rousey can't be legitimately defeated by Liv again. So WWE's solution to this problem was to have their match end with a classic screwy finish. Ronda Rousey makes Liv Morgan tap, but Ronda has her shoulders down on the mat for the 3 count while she's performing the arm lock. Liv Morgan taps out early before the 3 count, but the referee doesn't notice it and counts Ronda's shoulders being on the mat for the 3 count. You can understand why they went with this finish because it sort of protects both the superstars. Ronda legitimately should have won the match, but at the same time, Liv did get another 3 count on her. Some fans didn't like the screwy finish for Liv Morgan because it didn't really do anything to establish her as a champion. If Liv would have stayed in that arm lock, never tapped, and still kept Ronda's shoulders on the mat during the arm lock, that would have been impressive. That's a fighting champion right there. She stayed absorbing all that pain from the arm lock without tapping and found a way to get another win. That would have been Liv looking like a strong, courageous, and smart champion who knows how to survive and win. But with the actual finish, Liv tapped out long before the Ronda 3 count, so she would have no doubt lost that match and her title. So instead of leaving the match as this fighting strategic champion, Liv Morgan left that match basically barely escaping and just having luck on her side. So that was one criticism from the fans. They didn't like Liv just tapping out and giving up so early without truly fighting for her title reign. But Ronda would go on to flip out after the match and take out Liv Morgan and the referee. WWE announced that Ronda Rousey has been fined and suspended for her actions at SummerSlam. Again, this was all storyline related, so it's not an actual fine or suspension, just strictly for the storyline. WWE will sometimes turn to storyline suspensions to write someone off of television for a while. They did this a lot with Brock Lesnar over the last few years. It was just a way to remove him out of the storylines for a few months. So that's what everyone is assuming might happen here. Is this a way to send Ronda Rousey on a hiatus? Well, according to reports, Ronda Rousey won't be storyline suspended for long. Ronda's expected to be at Clash at the Castle, which means that she'll need to appear on television in the month of August to build up for that early September show. So chances are this storyline suspension will last maybe a week or two, but Ronda Rousey should definitely be back on her way sooner than everyone thinks. What she'll be doing at the show is obviously unknown. Does Ronda get another title opportunity because of that screwy SummerSlam finish? Or does Liv Morgan get a new challenger? That's what these new few weeks of SmackDown should tell us. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.